Murderbot is a series about an android that has human elements, like skin, and he is to act as a sec unit or a security unit. This is a refurbished model, and he's assigned to protect colonists on a remote world working for a company to find minerals. The series is based on novels by Martha Wells. This is exploring humanity through sci-fi. The rebrand continues my mission to get a better understanding of ourselves through sci-fi, fantasy, horror, and comics as our mode of exploration. The series showrunners are Chris Weitz and Paul Weitz. Tony Tellado, Exploring Humanity Through Sci-Fi podcast.
Saying the unspoken, I love it.
And I'll tell you, and that's exactly what you guys do on this series, let me tell you.
Thanks.
Yeah, it feels like this is a match made in heaven.
Definitely. One of the things I love about it is that Sec Unit gets to comment on us, what we're like. Talk about writing that part of it and even creating the character a little bit with Alex.
Yeah, well, the first thing is we work very closely with Martha Wells, who wrote the novels, and this is based on the novella, the first novel. So she just hit upon something with this character. I think it's a great literary character. I think it goes along with characters across the history of literature as hitting upon something that hasn't quite been articulated in this way. And one of the main things is that we all feel like sometimes we feel like we're not completely human ourselves. Sometimes we feel like we're in a solipsistic universe where nobody else quite has the human validity that we do. But also we feel like it's kind of a funny situation that it's a deep, it's the intersection between sort of existentialism and comedy. And we all have an inner monologue going. And the inner monologue doles out sort of like cynicism and snarkiness towards people we meet, but also towards ourselves. And there's something about that rings true and points towards personhood.
Stay tuned. There's more on Murderbot in a moment. Here is more with Chris Weitz and Paul Weitz. Chris, I love the group that is assembled on this planet and their whole structure and everything. What was it like to plug those roles with the people that inhabit them?
Oh, it's really fun to feel like, oh, we've discovered this person. Like you're watching auditions or watching people's past work and feeling whether it kind of resonates, like whether like the tuning fork of your sense of the show and of the characters works with the particularities of an actor. And I think that we were really, really lucky in finding the cast members that we did. Our main thing was to find a bunch of kind of eccentrics, really, rather than to find a bunch of archetypes. For me personally, these were characters who reminded me of friends of mine from Burning Man, right? These are sort of space hippies and bleeding hearts in some ways.
With the one cynic, like the one token cynic who is like, for some reason, hanging around with these people, like adores them, but David Dastmalchian's character Garathan is, he's more cynical than Murderbot. Like he's trying so hard to be suspicious and pessimistic. That is the most human of the bunch in a certain way.
Yeah, I mean, in David's case, I'd worked with him before and was just looking for a chance to do that again, and I knew that Paul would totally dig him when introduced. So like you come across people in various ways,
and then sometimes it's kind of like like Noma's character Mensa, which because the novella is kind of spare, there's not a ton about the background of the characters. But with Noma, like we were conscious of, there's a cliche of sort of the worthy leader who's always doing the right thing. So with that, what we wanted to do, because she is, the character is the leader of the group, and she's really tough and does all sorts of dangerous things, but at the same time, we wanted to think that she has an inner life and that she's neurotic and has panic attacks as well. So, in that sort of case, we'd ask Martha, is this okay if that is a characteristic of this character? Because it's never spoken about, but that it adds a lot in terms of it being a person that you're seeing.
Something about a reluctant leader, though. I love it. I think it's great, that she's sort of thrust into it because it's such a communal structure.
And the idea that she wants to reach out to somebody. She can't show how nervous she is to everybody else. So she wants to talk to Murderbot, but Murderbot doesn't want to talk to anybody.
Yeah, I mean, the monologues, too, are absolutely amazing. That's where we really get some insights into the character. What's it like to write those and put those together?
It's fun. You got to stay out of the realm of exposition. You can't ever use the monologue to say, "Here's what's happening in the plot." It's the good thing. What it's like is it's a ton of work because Alexander is not the type of person who's going to be like, "Oh, this is on the page, I'm just going to read it." He will if he believes it, but then after so that was worked on again and again and again through the whole process.
David Dastmalchian, who is Garathan, and Noma Dumezweni, who plays Mensa, the leader that we talked about previously. Now, let me start with you. I love the balance that she has to navigate in every episode, being a strong leader, but being compassionate. What's it like to play that?
But already, I love the title of your show, Exploring Humanity, because that's literally what it is. We're all complex creatures. It's lovely to play that. It's lovely to play those tensions and that thing. We go out into the world with a certain face and try to hold people in comfort, but then moments within our anxiety going, I don't know how to deal with this. And it's a pleasure to play. And it's not heavy. It's just that it's just part of her system. But what I love is through the show, she gets to know her strength because of meeting Murderbot and because of the experience of having to lead this group of researchers. They only went on a research trip. They didn't know they were going to get into what they were going to get to. So it's beautiful.
David, what's interesting about your character, he's an augment, and yet he's also a human being. Talk about balancing humanity and kind of like the machine part a little bit.
There's a tricky thing about being a human, if you will, where we have all of these preternatural instincts and, inclinations towards the way we think we'll go through life. And then life happens and we start to form all these adaptations, these new programs, if you will. Our hard drive kind of gets reprogrammed and oftentimes it's against its better nature. So that's the interesting kind of in for me because I've never actually had, computers or other things plugged into my brain the way my character has, but I've certainly had life's experiences rewire me in a way that often goes against the way that I want to exist or be.
Or you were intended to exist.
Intended, yeah.
The humanity, yes, gets taken away.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Let's meet more of the team in Akshay Khanna, who is Rati, and Tamara Podemski, who is Birsha. What's interesting is part of him, I think, wants to be an action hero, but he can't be. And also, he's got kind of conflicting emotions with the ladies. That's a complicated part. Talk about that.
Yes, no, he's. I think it's that thing of it's a normalized situation for people on preservation, to have polyamorous relationships, to have, a couple of husbands, maybe a wife, a few kids, that's to these people, that situation is just totally normal to everyone. And so for me, it was just being this is normal. As it should be, like in any romantic relationship, as long as the people are participating voluntarily and they're enjoying themselves, great. And so I don't think I overanalyzed it, I think,
My interviews from Murderbot continue in just a moment. And the action stuff, what was that like for you?
I think, yeah. I mean, Rati definitely thinks he's the main character in his own show. But he's sort of ambitious, but a bit rubbish, like Top Gear. So he's yeah, I think he's just, he wants to be an action star, but he's not quite there, is he?
Tamara, what I love about her is that she has compassion, especially when she has to treat people. And also, a little bit of adventurous, kind of pushing the limits a little bit, as she did, as we'll see in the first episode. Talk about balancing her a little bit and playing that part.
I think as long as, we remember it's Dr. Bharadwaj, she is a doctor, she is a teacher. So no matter how deep feeling and deep connecting she is, she comes back to, I want to study this or that. And I want to, just a curiosity about the world, mostly rocks and non-human things, but Murderbot presents just like the ultimate curiosity, and so actually a little bit different from Rati, who wants to befriend. I think to come at things of to study and inquire. That's what excites her, and also what pulls her in maybe too much to get her into situations that will then she will have to recover from over and over and over again.
Mm-hmm. The couple in the relationship with Rati are Tattiawna Jones, who is Arata, and Sabrina Wu, who plays Pin Lee. I love this relationship. I think it's a great relationship on the show. So, Tattiawna, how did you approach her? I mean, sometimes actors don't get a chance to really know their co-star really well. And how did you jump into this?
I was a fan of Sab before we did the show. And so I was looking up their comedy on YouTube and liking the videos and all of the thing. And so then when I got this audition for this amazing part, read this script that was something that I'd never read before, a sci-fi show, but it also has thriller elements and action elements and all of these other amazing things that I love from all of the genres that I love amalgamated into one. Oh, and by the way, your scene partner is going to be Sabrina Wu. Forget it. You couldn't tell me anything. I was just like, don't mess it up. Don't mess it up. Just don't mess it up. This would be, and yeah, I'm such a fan. And it was so easy to work with Sabrina. I mean, you're such an amazing talent, and also the intelligence of both your comedy and the way you would point out things. Oftentimes we would say, okay, myself and Sab and Akshay, because we play the throuple in the show, is sometimes say, okay, if anybody has any ideas for like how this could be funnier, and we would say anyone, but we meant Sabrina. We meant, come on, Sabrina, can you bail us out with something funny?
I was like, I was being paid handsomely, but I was like, it is not my job to write for you two, but all right, here we go.
But we shamelessly tried at every moment that we could. But yeah, it was a joy. I was a big fan.
Yeah,
I'm a big fan now.
Tattiawna's totally lying. She's just trying to make me feel better because I have a fragile ego. But it was really easy working with Tattiawna. I mean, you're such a seasoned pro, and like I obviously, like, coming from a comedy background, was like, oh man, like I have not done like some of these dramatic elements before, and like just getting to watch Tattiawna like do her thing. It made it so much easier to kind of like know what I should do next, and play off of that.
Playing the Murderbot himself is Alexander Skarsgård, which to me is what a lot of the themes like this podcast is exploring, our humanity. He does have one passion that he can't stop binging on. The commentary, I love it. I know from talking to your showrunners that essentially it's not all on the page, that you kind of go with the flow of it. Does that happen when you are doing the read-through or the day you record?
Well, it was a long process. Chris and Paul Weitz, the writers, showrunners, and I teamed up about over a year before we started shooting the show. So we had plenty of time to discuss the themes of the show and the character, and it was a real treat that you're not always privy to as an actor, to have that much time to develop the character and discuss everything from the intricate details of the helmet to broader themes and casting choices of the other team members, and so it was a great privilege to be part of the journey from the very beginning. And then it's a long creative process, and there would be new discoveries during the pre-production process, but also during both shooting the show. You come with thoughts and ideas every day, and then sometimes things change and you learn new things, and that's what keeps it exciting and fun on set. And even in post, I feel like a lot of it, you shape it and a lot of it changes, and especially because there's so much inner dialogue, the inner monologue, the voiceover going. That was something that we tweaked a lot and tried different versions of, and got together and spent several weeks together in a studio just recording voiceover to kind of see how that would play against the dialogue in the scene. And so it took a long time, but it was also a really fun, creative process.
The commentary, what it revealed was that in some ways he's really trying, in an important way, he's really trying to figure things out a little bit and describe that. I mean, he's on a journey, basically.
Well, it's all very daunting because Murderbot hacks its governor module. It gains free will, autonomy, but it can't show its clients, the humans it's assigned to protect, that it's got free will, because then it's afraid that it's going to get captured and just picked apart for pieces and like scrap metal. So it's basically waiting for the right moment to go off and start its own big adventure, and that it's calling itself Murderbot and its dreams. But then it starts to kind of procrastinate. And meanwhile, it's watching this space soap opera, The Rise and Fall of Sanctuary Moon. And I think it's a very relatable and, in a way, human instinct to kind of, you have these big dreams, but then you just want to watch one more episode and then one more episode, and then I'll deal with the rest of my life tomorrow. That can start tomorrow. But also because Murderbot has now gained free will, it's now forced to kind of confront its own humanity in a way, and that is all very new. It's because it's an android. It's a robot with organic elements. It's a journey of self-discovery, figuring out, in many ways, through watching the space soap opera, what humans are like. Can I relate to these humans? Am I similar in what way? If I am, in what way am I similar to these humans? And in the relationship with the team members that it, in the beginning, is desperately trying to avoid, slowly it starts to form this bond with the team members, and it makes itself feel vulnerable. And I think it's a mixed bag of emotions. Opening up and letting these people in feels great, but also it makes you exposed and vulnerable. So it's scary.
Yeah, that's what humanity is. It's scary at times, but that's great.
Yeah, it is. It is.
There's a lot of gold to mine in this series about being human and how maybe one day we treat synthetic life forms. Look for Murderbot on Apple TV+. Funny, dramatic, with some action and blood too. And poignancy too, as a matter of fact. Fun series to watch. A fantastic addition to great programming. That's what one of my subscribers told me, now that I'm featuring bonus videos with every audio episode on Sci-Fi Talk Plus. With those audio interviews, you can see videos on trailers like Tron Ares, the Superman CinemaCon footage, and not to mention behind-the-curtain special on Andor Season 2, featuring interviews and clips. And there'll be something on Thunderbolts coming soon. It's easy. Click on the link for a free 1-year trial in the show notes. See samples at sci-fi-talk.com. After a year, you pay only $1.99 a month, locked-in forever price. So start that free 1-year trial now. This is Tony Tolato.